Hey, welcome back to the Consulting Mind. Today I'm going to share with you a quick guide on the modern monetary theory, which has been triggered quite a lot of debate and discussion in the market recently again. So, what's the basic idea of MMT? It is a macroeconomic framework which claims that monetary sovereign country like UK, US, Japan, and Canada should not be constrained by the revenues it earned when it comes to government spending. Here's I would like to give you a very quick explanation. What does that mean by the monetary sovereign country? It means those countries who are able to print the money backed up by their own credit. Uh, on the other hand, those who cannot print their own money, like Germany and France, will not be sovereign countries as they are bound by the Eurozone policy. So, in short, MMT basically claims that government should and can spend as much as possible. It is quite contrary to the traditional macroeconomic theory. And they should not and need not worry about paying for it because they can just use the new money print from their own central bank to pay for that. But how about the budget deficits? It is a good thing. When it's come to spending in the right infrastructure, right system to stimulate healthy economic growth and employment rates. How does MMT work? To start with, what is the MMT policy aim? The economy should aim at full employment at all times, and the fiscal policy, rather than the monetary policy, should play even a more important role when it comes to achieving that objective. And next question is, where to spend and how to spend? The government should invest in important infrastructure, spending on environment, education, or even providing a guaranteed job to everyone such that the full employment can be achieved. But what if the inflation comes? If the spending leads to inflation, then the government can increase the taxes to control it with a fiscal policy changes. And what if the deficit comes? Well, deficit is important, but the government do not have to worry about them because, as mentioned before, a country with monetary sovereignty can print as much as possible and spend their own currency for the deficit and the debt. And afterward, the increase in the deficit can actually be financed by the central bank directly with the monetization, and therefore it will not cause an increase in the market interest rate. So having gone through the bright side and the positive side of the MMT, what is the major criticism of the MMT policy? To start with, there is a potential overestimation of the power of the fiscal policy, while on the other hand, underestimation of the effectiveness of the monetary policy. To give you an example, there are some occasions and scenarios that raising tax is just not sufficient to curb the inflation. For example, in the 1960 of the United States, the President Lyndon Johnson actually followed this principle and logic by raising taxes and balancing the budget. However, the high inflation just persists until the early 1980s when the Fed chairman, the famous Paul Volcker, reduced the growth of the monetary supply and increased the interest rate. The inflation finally come down. Next, the second criticism will be there is an overestimation of the ability of the fiscal authority to control inflation. What does that mean? Just imagine when there is an actually high inflation, will the government do and have the courage to raise the taxes despite the soaring inflation, despite the anger from the people? Do they really have the willingness and the capacity to change the fiscal policy? That's quite hard to happen in the real world. And the third point will be the risk of excessive public debt. The consequence might be much larger than what we can expect it. So that's the end of the quick guide. If you like the video, please click the like button and subscribe for me. Thank you. See you later.